All right. I think we're live. Who we got watching? Anybody? Nobody yet. So let's see. Bring up the chat here. We got one person in here. Jimmy Ka. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man? What have you been up to? All is well? Johnny Bean, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, my man? I'm glad you could make it. Very cool. Ken, how you doing? Nice to see you. I got some interesting stuff to show from when you and I had that concert. David Ennis, R2R3. I'm doing good. I'm doing really good today. Hopefully you guys like the show that we're going to talk about. Blackie, what's going on? Everybody's jumping in. Good. Hope you guys like the show. We'll just give it a couple more minutes and then we'll start. We'll start talking about this amazing guitar. Fender Guru, what's going on? Got to split shortly. Studio time. Nope, no problem, Johnny. No problem. Mr. Smith. It's 51. Yes, it is. It is 50. Ugh. There. Missed that last one. Clayton James Hicks. Yes, today is Wolfgang Wednesday. However, we're going to turn it into a 5150 Wednesday today. So. I'm not tuned down to drop D, so sorry about that. All right. Well, I guess we'll get rolling. And today, first off, thank you guys for jumping in. Michael James, I couldn't tell if you jumped in yet, Mike, but Michael James called me the other day and he was just like, hey, you know, he's like, we really should do something. Put this up here so I can see the chat. We really should start doing something about the 5150s. Like, let's just, you should do a show on that. Just that particular guitar. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. We've all talked about it. Hey, James, how you doing? Real quick, Brian Smith, what amp and any effects? I'm just using my 5153 combo with Boss DD3 digital delay and my PS6 harmonist. So that's how I'm getting the, that's how I'm getting a little bit of the chorus effect. So, what else we got? All right, so anyways, I thought it would be fun to put together a show and just talk about just this one guitar. If you guys have any other questions, that's cool too. We'll answer those. But I figured we roll for maybe an hour, hour and a half, whatever you guys want. And we'll talk about the history of the 5150 Kramer. This guitar right here, how it started, what its state is now, and kind of the use and what Eddie did with the tours and stuff like that. It's really kind of an interesting guitar. It's got a lot of history behind it, so it's really a cool one. It's absolutely my favorite Van Halen guitar. It's basically the guitar that really made me decide that I wanted to start playing, guitar. When I saw Live Without a Net, that was the one that really was like, wow, that's an amazing guitar. So. Like I said, ask away. I'm going to try to answer you guys' questions, but if I miss them, just re-ask it again, and we'll try to hit whatever anybody has for questions. But we're going to try to focus on the 5150, just because that's what the show's about. But again, if you have any other questions, go ahead and ask it. And it looks like the dog's going to be bothering me the whole show because he gets jealous. So if I have to throw a toy, it's only because he wants that. Let's see, real quick, who else? Let's make sure everybody's jumped in. All right, so the Kramer 5150. Well, Eddie had played the Frankenstrat for a long time. Started out as the black and white one, and then, as you guys know, ended up playing, turning it, painting it red. And Alexandra, yeah, I know this 5150 sucks. It's a horrible paint job. I don't know who it is. Some dumb kid. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, it's definitely the best one I've ever had. But Eddie played this guitar for a long time. He played it basically from the late 70s, mid to late 70s, right up until pretty much the Jump video, the Us Festival era. And he still played it a little bit after that. It's still in the studio as it is today. But he kind of, for the most part, retired the Frankenstrat. And after the '84 album, and then went into the tour, and 5150, that was its first road use for the tour. So basically, this was Eddie's type of a style guitar. It was always a Strat. I don't really think Eddie really liked all the routes and stuff like that in here. That's why he jammed all these pickups in and the switches and all that, because they never worked anyways. And if you really look at things and how they all transpired, Eddie's first, as we know, top-loaded guitar was basically, rear-loaded guitar was the Bumblebee. If you look at it, it's very much like the 5150. It's got a straight humbucker. It's, what's up, Paul? How you doing? It's got a straight humbucker. There's no pick guard. This is a very 5150-ish like style in certain ways. The pickup input jack is way up here, but it's basically kind of Eddie's first deal with this type of a guitar with no pick guard. And so in my opinion, and this is not fact, but in my opinion, that was when Eddie started to really kind of like that type of style. And he even followed it with the Unchained Circles guitar and the which turned into the Rude and the Weird Shapes guitar. They all kind of fit that same profile. So Eddie was playing around with that style for a long time before Kramer started building those so-called super Strats without the pick guards and the rear-loaded guitars. So he'd been kind of playing with that. And a lot of different companies were looking at endorsing Eddie, and he was kind of going back and forth. And the Frankenstrat was just that one guitar that just sounded good to him all the time. If you guys check out that '82 interview, the Frankie was just that one guitar that just continued to always produce. It had that good sound. It had that feel. We were talking about that the other day. That magical feel. And as far as the Bumblebee, he loved the way it looked, but he could never get it to sound right. He was always flipping pickups around and doing this stuff, but he could never get it to really sound the way he wanted it to. So he would always go back to the Frankenstrat. So he teams up with Kramer, and end of '81 and '82, and Kramer essentially builds a couple of different guitars for him. One of the guitars they built for him in the beginning was this one, the yellow double neck. All right, this was one of the first ones they did for him, and it might have even been before the Kramer ad guitar came, which I think it did. I think it was before, because Eddie was playing that guitar in the early stages of the Diver Down era. He started out playing a Gibson double neck, but then too many people thought that he was trying to cop Jimmy Page. What's up, Sean? And he ended up having Kramer make that. So he was already dealing with Kramer and kind of working with them a little bit, and he was very intrigued. And then he was looking into the Rockinger tremolos and all that stuff. He's kind of all over the place with some of this stuff. The reason I'm getting into this because we're talking about kind of how the 5150 came about. So, as you guys know, Kramer built this guitar for Eddie, and it was like a flying V kind of Star Destroyer type looking thing. And Eddie hated it. It had a VH on it. He did not like the guitar at all. And just real quick, I got a picture of it right here on my phone. Where is it? I thought I had everything set up, but I guess I didn't. Hold on. Stand by. We have a technical difficulty here. Where is it? I just had it. Oh, maybe it's in my... I thought it was recent. And the reason I'm showing you this is because this is kind of how Kramer started building these things and going towards what Eddie was looking for. Huh. Okay, well maybe it is back here. I know I have it. I'll be damned. Oh well. I thought I had it, but I can't find it. I'll probably find it later. But there's a picture if you guys get on Vintage Kramer, and it's a V look. It's a very blurry picture, but it's a red, white striped guitar that's cut out like a destroyer star. And Eddie hated it. He did not like it. But what he did like is he loved the neck that was on it. And it was this banana Gibson Explorer type headstock. It was non-tilt back, and he loved that neck. So he basically, as you guys know the story, he said, I want a Strat style body and I want it to be like my Frankenstrat. And there's pictures of the Frankenstrat and this guitar when they were building them and painting them and things like that. And so they built this guitar, the Kramer Frankie, and it's set up very much like a Frankenstrat, same type of a thing, half pickguard, you know, and we'll do some hangouts on these guitars too. And they named it #1 Edward Van Halen model. And it had the gold Goto crown heads and all that. And Eddie played this guitar on the second leg of the last leg of the Diver Down tour, which was basically the South American leg. He played it exclusively. And he really wasn't playing the Frankenstrat much anymore. So after the Diver Down tour, Eddie's still playing the Frankie. He's got this guitar, and now we're well into '82. Eddie decides that he wants to go with a rear-loaded guitar, that has no pick guard. Kind of wants to go back to that Bumblebee type idea. So what they did is, and we're going to get into talking about the wood that the Kramer 5150 was made of, and this is a big debate, and I'm going to give you my opinion on it, and we can do what you want with that. But I'll tell you what I think, and I'll tell you why I think that in a couple of minutes. But essentially what happened was Eddie said, I want this guitar built. So it was essentially a Kramer Pacer Special body, all right, with one pickup and one knob. And it was a straight pickup. It wasn't slanted. And it was, the body looked just like this. Actually, I'm going to show you the original pictures. And it was, the maple neck and this interesting pattern of a headstock, all right? And that's basically what you had. This was the guitar right about when it was first done. You notice there's no 5150 stickers on there. There's no stars. And the guitar is almost pristine except for a couple little nicks. And a lot of people that make these guitars, see this stripe right, this stripe right here? A lot of people miss this when they make these. That stripe is, it's cut off and it starts again. It almost looks like they did it in two versions. And then there's a paint drip. But that stripe is not straight, it's angled because they did it kind of half-assed, so to speak. So it's kind of interesting. So you guys that are doing these 5150s, you got to kind of nail that stripe. Unless you want something that's, like factory looking, that's different. But if you're trying to do a relic type job, you want to kind of nail that. So they built this guitar. Now there's a lot of speculation as to who painted it. Did Paul Unkert paint it? Did George Felice paint it? Did Rudy Laren paint it? I mean, this we'll probably never know. I know in talking to Paul Unkert, he stated that he did not paint the 5150. One of the last guitars Paul Unkert painted was the Hot for Teacher. This was one of the last ones Paul painted. But as he remembers, he did not paint the 5150. So who painted it, we'll probably never know, for sure. But at the same time, what's up, 802 Blues? How you doing? Good to see you, man. Glad you guys are all in here. We'll probably never know, but at the same time, we can all kind of speculate, and one of these days I'd love to have a conversation with George Felice because he's painted a lot of Van Halen guitars over the years, and he seems like a really cool guy. I've never had a conversation with him other than just Messenger and stuff like that, but really cool dude, so I'd love to pick his brain a little bit too. So Eddie's playing this guitar, and one of the first pictures that we know of this guitar, one of the first pictures, is this one right here. And this picture only came out maybe a couple years ago. And it's a picture of the backstage of the US Festival. And there's the 5150. You can see Eddie's striped pants there, and there's Dave over here doing his, his bobbada bobbada, best people doing his little shtick there. And here's the Kramer 5150. Sorry, it's so bright. And again, no space tape yet. And the headstock is painted. It looks white, but it is painted. It's just a glare. So that's a pretty cool picture right there. And that picture kind of speaks volumes, because no, he didn't play the guitar then. He played the Frankenstrat with a Kramer beak neck, chicken hawk neck on it. But he still had the 5150 there, so he was still playing with it. So we believe that Kramer built, and Eddie says he built 3 of them around that time. And there's speculation if it was the ad guitar. We think that was before. We think, and this is just my opinion, I think it was the 5150, the 1984 for sure, because those 2 guitars were built at the same exact time, same exact parts pretty much and everything. And probably the Hot for Teacher. Those guitars were built at the same time, around the same time. When they got painted, we'll probably never know. Now, okay, here's where we're going to get into a little bit of speculation, and I can get my chat back here. Where are we? Here we go. We're going to get into a little bit of speculation. So what is the 5150 guitar made of? Well, Kramer was making most of Eddie's guitars out of poplar. They were making most of the guitars out of poplar. So they did a couple in mahogany, they did a couple in ash, and they did some in basswood. For the longest time, most people thought this guitar was made out of poplar, as so did I. And we'll probably never really know for sure, okay? But that being said, Paul Unkert has admitted that most of the guitars were made from poplar. Obviously, the neck's maple, and we'll talk about the headstock in a little while. But what is the body made of? Well, I believe the body is a basswood. I believe that. And that I believe that because of the consistency of the wood, okay? Now, and everybody says, well, ash bodies are really grainy. They're really, really grainy, and they are. However, that being said, most all guitar bodies, and definitely with basswood, will get grainy when they're cut down to this part. And you can see my guitar right here. Hubbard did this, and he did an amazing job. And this is almost as exact as you're going to get. The guitar was grainy down here. It was. And that's why the paint wore here. But it's very smooth up here, all right? It's not grainy at all. Now, this guitar was not even, it was basically cut, maybe lightly sanded, and then painted. And that's all they did. They didn't put any rubbing compound on it to fill the grain. They didn't do anything. They just painted it. And that's why it was so grainy. And there's some early pictures of it, and you can see that grain, even before the paint wore here. Now, people say, well, we think it was ash. We think it was northern ash. Okay, well, here's why I say it's not northern ash. Because here's my Frankenstrat. And it's really, really heavy. And that's what the real one is. That's one of the things that the Fender guys did not really get right, probably for whatever reason. The Fender replicas are very light. Eddie's guitar, as we believe, was very heavy like this one. This one is northern ash. And you can see the grain in this guitar kind of all over the body. Not really bad, but this guitar is a north. See the grain right there? It's not just down here, okay? It's I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's basically all over the body, okay? Now, a basswood body probably wouldn't be like that, okay? The way they cut it, it probably wouldn't be like that. So I'm thinking after a long time, a lot of years, and a lot of discussion, it's not poplar, it's not northern ash. I believe it's a basswood body. And I have a lot of friends that have actually, not a lot, but I have a few friends that have actually seen that guitar in person, and they say the same thing. So again, believe what you want, but I believe that the Frankenstrat was, but due to the consistency of a grain on an ash body, and the consistency of the grain on the 5150, the only part that it's grainy on, really, as we know, is right down here, the way that it wore. And everywhere else, it's pretty pretty smooth, and it's also very light. It's a light guitar, so I don't believe it's ash. The 5150 was very light, and so is this one. This is basswood, and it was cut from basswood by Chris Locke. My replica was. We'll talk about replicas after. So again, you know, you can chop my head off on that one if you want. We'll never probably really know for sure, but that's what my belief is. Okay. Not seeing too many questions. You guys must just be listening. Johnny Bean got a split. Everything got mixed up in tunes. No problem, buddy. If I missed you, catch you next time, bro. Give me a call tomorrow. So, 5150. What did it have for parts? Well, thanks, Johnny. You too, bro. Have a good night. Talk to you tomorrow. Well, it had in the beginning, I'll show some pictures in the beginning of it. It had as we believe, a Duncan 59 or a Duncan JB. I'm kind of thinking it's a JB, which is kind of like a custom they did. All right, just because it's a little bit hotter than a 59. We'll probably never know. MXR knob, had a whale tail Floyd on it, and you guys know the deal with the whale tails. Okay, we don't have to totally revisit that. Vintage prototype nut, and it had Godo tuners on it. They were not Shallers, they were Godos or Gatos. And that was about it. A standard barrel jack, and it had this neat little string tree here that Chris Hubbard is getting us all, and an interesting 80s style era string retainer, which is actually very hard to find. So, just going to go back real quick because I forgot to show you guys this. Here's a picture of Eddie from one of my old player magazines with the Kramer ad Frankie. He actually was very proud of this guitar. And that also was a whale tail too. It's a really cool magazine. All right, let's just take a second here and look at what we got for questions. Just got my custom SH11 soldered in my Strat. Getting ready to put a new nut on it now. I'm hoping it sounds and plays better when I'm done. Nice, 802. That's awesome. You got to let me know what you think of it. I'm interested to hear. Put it in a Strat too. Very nice. Those are great pickups. I got a couple of them myself. Some say it could also be a 78. Yeah, it could be. I mean, it definitely could be. I mean, I guess we'll never know, but I mean, I have a 78 in, which one of the guitars? I forget which one it is. It might be my Star. I think I put a 78 in it. And I, you know, and I love the sound of the 78. It's really hot. I think this is my opinion. I think a 78 might sound a little bit, and you can tweak it with the amp, but I think the 78 would be a little bit too hot sounding. And if you listen to Ed play that guitar on the 84 tour, it's very clean. Now, again, he can dial his amp in differently and, you know, clean it up, obviously, or roll back on the volume because he had no tone knob. But I really think that, I don't know, it's hard to say. Very hard to say. But those were basically the parts in the 5150. So Ed basically obviously began using this guitar. Born Pots 2, 802, yep, nice. 80, hold on one quick second. Do you have any customs in any of your guitars, Rob? You know, I don't right now. I used to have one in my my old 1984 guitar, but that's actually a Duncan 59. And in my 5150, I don't, because this is a PV Wolfgang pickup, just like Ed's is now. But I have had them before, and I loved them, but I presently don't believe I have any. Actually, you know what? I take that back. My Kramer ad guitar. This is a custom. Yep, that's a Duncan custom. I do. Yep, and I love it, and it sounds nice. I take that back. I used to have a few of some other guitars, but that one is a custom. So Eddie played the guitar all through the 1984 tour, and let's see, got some cool stuff here to show you. Some pictures. And it's interesting to note that the guitar, how it wore, okay? Now here's a picture of Eddie in 1984, you know, walking to one of the shows. I think it's the Donington show. And you'll notice that it's not really worn that much, but you notice that up the elbow part on the body, you can already see where the grain is right there, and see how the white's rubbing through the grain where his elbow rests. So my guess is, sorry for the shakiness, they probably put the paint on pretty thin, and the paint color that they used was a Schwinn bicycle lacquer, and it was sunset orange. And it was a really hard, it took us a long time to figure that out. I think a few years ago people started figuring out what color it was. And now, we're able to nail the colors on our replicas. But it was a sunset orange. And for those of you guys that, it's very hard to find that real paint. You can find it, it's really expensive. But if you really want to replicate that guitar with that sunset orange, and also the Kramer ad guitar had that same color too. And I'll be showing my ad guitar because it's coming on Friday. This coming Friday, so we'll do a show on that one because I'd be excited to show you guys that. If you want to replicate the sunset orange, Duplicolor makes a Chevy orange red, okay, Chevy orange red, and that is essentially the exact same thing, and that's what this guitar was painted using. And I know it's not, the light and everything, but this is about as exact as you can get to what Ed's color was. Headstock and everything. So it's Chevy orange red. And you get that stuff obviously at an auto parts store. I used to use the Krylon stuff when I was painting guitars, and Rust-Oleum, and that's okay, it works all right, but it's too inconsistent, and it takes so long to dry. The Duplicolor stuff is like bang, it dries, and you can tape it up, and it dries really, it's almost like a sturdier type paint in my opinion. And that's why it's more expensive, because it's a better quality paint, and it's definitely better for guitars. All right. 1984 tour, the guitar gets played for the entire tour. And guys, if you have any questions on the 5150, go ahead and ask. And if I don't see any questions, I'll just keep plugging along on the history of the guitar, and then we can do a wrap-up at the end. But I hope you guys are enjoying this show because it is kind of fun. It's absolutely my favorite guitar, and I'd like to continue to do these shows. But on specific guitars too, it'd be kind of fun. 802 Blues. JB is great, but with a maple neck, it was really bright. It's interesting too. I've noticed the 78 Duncan. Depending on what kind of body you put it in, sometimes it just doesn't sound right. I can't remember if it was an ash body. I think it sounds great at an ash body, but it doesn't necessarily sound great in a poplar body. It sounds kind of tinny. But thank you, Paul. Glad to hear it, man. Because you guys enjoy it. So now we're in 1985, and I got a poster back here, but you can't see it. Now we're in 1985. Now let's take a look at the 5150 from 1985 era. Here we are here. Here's Ed, 1985. Here's the 5150. And you'll notice it doesn't have a lot of wear on it. But it's starting to get there. This was Ed's main guitar. Now look at the neck. Look at that neck. It's got all kinds of wear marks on it and dirty, and it's really, really cool. All the same hardware is on it. He hasn't done any swaps out for anything. Everything's exactly the same. So how did that neck get so dirty so fast? Well, Ed played it all the time. He was always playing it. So you play any kind of an unfinished type neck, and it's going to get dirty. But if you guys notice how that neck wore, it's very, very, very difficult to reproduce that. And Dave Nesdahl and I have had this question before, and so have Scott Smith and I. Here's what I think happened with that neck. I believe that the 5150 neck, the original neck, which is the one that's on it now, the original neck, okay, had a slight lacquer on it. Like a very thin lacquer. Not like a gunstock oil, but a very thin lacquer. Kind of like what a Kramer guitar would have. And Eddie tried it that way. And we think that he took a razor blade and just was scratching away, just randomly. Eddie would do all kinds of funky things like that. He was always tweaking. What's up, Hef? He was always tweaking things to get them right, and he would, he's a mad scientist, and he would do this, he'd rip this out, put this on, and do this. I believe that the only way that a neck would wear and dirty up like that, so bad in areas, but other areas untouched, is that neck had to have a lacquer on it, And Ed took a blade and just scraped it off and just did it very poorly, and just got what he could off and got it down to the wood on some areas, but other areas he didn't, because it was very inconsistent. And you'll notice the back of the neck never really got that dirty. And the lacquer will wear off over time, it will. But in order for a neck to really dirty up like that, it would almost have to be scratched down. So that's what we actually think happened, that he scratched that off and then, you know, just did a poor job on it. And the areas that are really dirty and like pictures like that are basically the areas that, you know, that were down to the wood. Okay? And again, of course, depending on what chords you play and where you normally are on the neck, and you know, there's gonna be areas that wear more than others, that's for sure. So thanks, James. Sounds good. 802 Blues. Honestly, that's what it looks like. I actually did that to my neck, and it looks like that. Yeah. So that's what a lot of us are doing to our necks to make them look like that. Kind of doing that and taping them off and putting the lacquer on there and then scratching it off. Or you can even do it with another trick, and I don't like to give my tricks away, but one of the things I like to do, I haven't done it on this one yet because I'm letting this one go dirty up on its own, because so it's like Eddie's is now, because they cleaned it, is taping off with masking tape the entire neck. Taking a razor blade and cutting out spots that you want to have dirtied up, and then taking like some stain, like a stain pen, coloring them in a couple of times, then pull your tape off, and then you're going to have a neck that looks dirty. You just gotta you gotta cut the paint in very kind of random ways, going off of what the real one looks like, and that gives it that inconsistent type look. You don't want to cut it straight, because then it looks too intentional. So you really got to make that labored look. So that's just a little trick if you guys ever want to try that. That does work. It works pretty well. So I've been painting guitars since 1996 when I started playing Van Halen guitars, and I used to paint all my stuff. And I had some really good guitars that I did over the years. But then guys like Nick Amendolara came along, and Chris Hubbard, and there's some other good guys out there too. And Scott Smith and I were just having a conversation back a month or so ago. And we're like, oh man, you know, it's like, it used to be me, used to be Scott, used to be Jerry, Leica. There used to be, Ken, I remember the first ones. Yeah, there was some bad ones, but that's how you learn. And some of them came out nice though. We'll talk about my buddy Ken in a few minutes. He's in here. We've been friends for well over 20 years. But I used to paint all these guitars, and Scott and I were talking about it. It used to be us. You know, we were the ones that did it. And then all of a sudden these guys come along, and it's like, boom, you know, they're just freaking killing it. Hubbard and Chris, Hubbard and Nick, and they're all just crushing it. They're doing these amazing jobs. But back in the days when we started, we had the internet, but it didn't have all these pictures to go from. And you couldn't zoom up like you could like today and do all these, make the masks and the programs, and there just wasn't much. We were all going off of magazines. We were doing everything by magazines. You get the old Circus magazines, or, you know, Inside magazines, or guitar magazines, you know, and then you would do the best you could. And the Japanese magazines were hard to get a hold of. And then, you know, so many guitars, like the 84 guitar or the Bumblebee, we didn't even know what the back of it looked like. And then all of a sudden, we get these young guitar mags that come out. It's like, whoa, that's what the back of the 84 looks like. So cool. We all strip our guitars out, we're redoing them again. And finally found out what the Bumblebee looked like. And the Bumblebee actually had a tone knob in the cavity and all that cool stuff. So anyways, it's pretty cool. Yeah, Ken and I used to collect tons and tons of mags, and he was a big Van Halen guy for guitars too for a while. Still was a big fan, but we used to paint a lot of these guitars ourselves and do stuff like that. But those are the days that you'll learn. So we've passed the torch on. I mean, I still paint guitars. I mean, I did this one less than a year ago. It's my hard rock Kramer giveaway guitar. I mean, yeah, I can still do it. I mean, I still got the knack to it. And I did... and I'll do a show separate on all of these. I did my 918V, which is a backup Kramer, you know. I did this guitar myself. And, you know, so I still like to do it once in a while. But to do a Frankie now, or a 5150, yeah, I could do it. I just don't have the patience for it anymore. It's too much of a pain in the ass. But Half, remember all the Van Halen replica sites? One selling replicas used to be tons. Yeah, they used to be Unchained World and all this stuff. And you know, that's where I heard of guys like Eric Broadbent and Scott Smith and Jerry Like, all those guys. Those were all the guys that were you know, big into that. We were the ones that started, you know, really getting into that heavy back in those days. Yeah, thanks 802 Blues. As you know, I've been watching the chat on Johnny's channel forever, and I've learned so much, and really gave me the balls to do what I'm doing now and work on my own stuff. So thank you. Yeah, it's funny, you know, Johnny and Dave started doing the show. We're just taking a little sidetrack once in a while. Johnny and Dave started doing the show a few years ago, and I jumped on about a year into it. So it was Johnny, Dave, and I, and we did the show. And then I left. I had a lot of stuff going on, and then Jay kind of jumped in, and you know, Jay's done a great job. Now I'm kind of jumping back in once in a while doing the shows, but I kind of figured, you know, that's we'll keep doing that, but it's kind of fun to kind of do my own too sometimes. You know, I think, you know, it's there's a room for everybody out there, so it's cool, you know. But yeah, I'm glad you guys have fun. I mean, that's how you learn about this stuff. You just get involved with it, and there's so much information out there. So back to the 5150. Now we're in the 85 era, and it's Ed's main guitar still. He's playing it. He can't put the thing down. So we go into 1986, and do I have any 86 pictures in here? I might have one here. Oh, actually, I don't. So now we go into 1986, and now we're starting to see the guitar is really starting to wear. Still got all the same parts in it, but the guitar is really starting to kind of, you know, come into its own, and it's just Eddie's main guitar, and he loves everything about it, and it's just become one of those guitars that he just, you know, he can't put down. Here's another picture of 84, not to jump backwards, but it's a picture of Eddie in 84. Got the space tape on it. The space tape was, you know, pretty prevalent back in those days. It was pretty normal. You could find that stuff. Now here it is in 1986, and you can just see the guitar was starting to really get worn down, and, you know, sweat on, and, you know, whatever other kind of things got spilt on it, and the guitar just really started, you know, getting worn. And what we ended up having, I got another pretty cool picture to show you guys if I can find it. And what we ended up getting to between the 86 and 88 era was this. And look at how nasty it is. It looks like there's some charcoaly stuff underneath the 6 strings, you know. And still got the whale tail on it, although a couple of the saddles were replaced with some up-to-date saddles. Look at that neck. It is just nasty dirty. Okay. Same stuff. Cigarette burns and everything. The guitar's about as dirty as you can get. So Eddie starts playing it on the 1988 tour, OU812. And at that time, now the guitar still is in its main state, and it's just, you know, Eddie just can't put it down. It just has that feel to it. That neck was just magical for him. So we wonder how the headstock got broken. Now this is not how the headstock actually broke, but this is probably one of the reasons how the thing got broke, because Eddie was so rough with it. So here is a Montreal bootleg, 1986, Montreal. The show was just over. Now I want you guys to pay attention to this. Eddie actually tries to throw the guitar to Zeke, to his tech, and the strap gets caught, and the guitar just goes bang, falls on the ground. This is how road worn this guitar got. Check this out. This is a great video. Here we go. Takes it off. Watch. Whoops. Bang! Uh-oh. Isn't that so cool? Picks it up, gives it to Zeke. Look at Eddie. He's like, shit. Just dropped my fucking guitar, man. That's a cool video, right? You guys probably dig that. So, that's the type of lifestyle that this damn guitar had. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, bro. We'll refine things here in a little bit, but I kind of just like rolling with things, you know. I really enjoy just kind of having a good time and whatever. But thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, Clayton James thinks you should play Boston more than a feeling on the double neck. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool. I haven't even played that guitar very much, honestly. Yeah, you could just tell, Chris. Ed was like, "Ah, fuck! They just dropped my guitar," but he's laughing about it. I mean, you're Eddie Van Halen. It's a freaking rock legend guitar. Of course, it's whatever. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've had that bootleg for over 20 years, but it's pretty neat. But that's the type of life that it had. So my guess is that's exactly how the headstock broke. A situation like that, the guitar just fell over, he threw it. There's some speculation that he was having a fight with Al and he threw it at Al and it broke. I mean, maybe we'll probably never know. But real quick before we go into the next stages, one thing I wanted to talk about real quick was the headstock on this guitar. So before we talk about where it broke, let's talk about how it was made. The 5150 headstock was, and again, might be a little speculation on this, but I'm going to tell you what I think. Kramer started making Strat style, and you guys have seen my purple pacer over there, Strat style headstocks, and with the Kramer logos, and they're called the lawsuit headstocks. And they started getting sued because Fender was like, hey, you can't do that, those are ours. That's our design. So then they started making the duck beak, the chicken hawk style, like this one right here, okay? And basically all they did was they took a Strat headstock and they just cut the ball off and kind of rounded it a little bit, and that's where you get the Kramer Classic neck from. It's pretty simple, right? So how did they make this neck? Well, Paul Unkert, a few years ago when we were out at his house, I got to see Paul Unkert's actual shop, okay? And it's amazing. And I got to see some amazing pictures, and we talked about this too. He had 3 templates. And he did cut the neck for the 5150 because that neck was around for a while. He had a template for the 5150, and I saw the exact template that he used to cut Eddie's neck. It's pretty cool. He had a template for the 5150. He had a template for the Kramer ad guitar, and he had a template for the Hot for Teacher because they're all a little bit different, and a lot of people don't know that. They're all a little different. And all the other headstocks are just done randomly. They're all just cut. Some are stubby, some are short. That's why the Neptune is like looks like a paddle. It's a little shorter. Michael James, what's up, buddy? So the Kramer 5150 neck was a Strat neck. Started out as a Strat neck because the Chicken Hawk necks were Strat necks too. They just cut the ball out. So it started out as a Strat neck, and it was reshaped. Now, forgive me, I don't have the pictures. Now, Paul Unkert used his bed frame, the wood bed frame, for whatever reason, and I believe it was birch, okay? And he took a piece of his bed frame, his wooden bed frame, cut it, and then added on to the headstock because this was a Strat, so the tuners went up like this. So he shaved it down, filled the holes, re-drilled them. Now in the original 5150, and even in mine, because Hubbard's such a geek, he's such a nerd, he actually put the holes where where the original ones would go, so you can kind of see them here. I don't know if you can catch it here, but Hubbard's just such a goof. He does the stupid stuff like that. But I love him for it because we're all the same. And cut a piece of birch off the template that he had because Eddie loved this style, doweled it, and then put it together and glued it. All right. So it was a piece of the wing was actually the wing here and then the wing here because the top part's a wing and then the wing here. These are both pieces from Paul Unkert's his bed frame, his wooden bed frame, and they're birch. It's pretty cool information, and then Paul said that himself. So where you see the crack on the 5150 right here, right? Right here. Hubbard says the wings were birch from Paul's dad's bed. Okay, so it was his dad's bed. Okay, yeah, we're nerds. Nerds. Yeah. So there's a crack here. So when the headstock broke, it broke right where it was reattached. That's where this wing was attached. That's where it broke. You're not a nerd, Al, but your husband is. He's a total nerd. But I still love him. So, anyways, that's what happened. That's the story behind this headstock. Birch from Paul Unker's dad's bed. Pretty neat, huh? The wing here and this piece here. So when it broke, what happened? Well, Eddie was looking at getting away from Kramer. There was a bunch of stuff going on. Eddie wasn't apparently getting paid for the strings that Kramer was making. And I do want to show you one thing because this is actually pretty cool. The strings they were making around that time, this is an original set, were these. And this is a full set that I've never used. These go for a lot of money on eBay. Some dude was asking like $200 for one set. I'm like, whatever, dude. $200. I think I paid like $30 for this like 2 years ago. And it's a real set, never even been opened. I mean, a couple $100 for a whole pack maybe, but whatever. That's why the thing's still sitting there, because nobody's stupid enough to buy it. But anyways, yeah, they're awesome strings. So there was something going on with the strings, and Eddie wasn't getting the royalties or the money for the strings. We'll really never know. Now, I do want to check out Eric Broadbent's show because I haven't seen it yet, but he just did an interview with Dennis Berardi, and I'm really anxious to see it, so I might even check that out tonight. So I'm sure there's some good information there. But whatever it is, the speculation still brews and is still out there. But Eddie was starting to look to do something else. So he was into the Soldano amps at that time, and he was, loving that sound. He was trying to change his sound around, and he was starting to kind of look into PV, and they were starting to build his 5150 amps, and which was basically just a hot rodded Soldano. And the whole thing with Mike Soldano, these PV stole our circuit for for their 51, whatever. That's really isn't part of it, but the 5150 is basically a hot rodded Soldano because I love Soldano amps. But anyways, the last known live show that we know of was the Cabo Wabo opening in 1990, and it's on YouTube. You can see it. And Eddie is playing this guitar, okay? And guys, help me out. I can't remember if the headstock had broken by then, yeah. And that's right, the headstock had been broken and had a seventh tuning peg added down here, and they reattached it. So Music Man was the one that fixed that for Eddie. They repaired it for Eddie, as far as we know. And Eddie was playing this, so he's still playing the 5150, and he was looking at a totally new design. And Music Man was, they sent him a striped up Strat, and he was like, I don't want that. That's not what I want. I want a new design. And there's some cool prototype pictures out there, some of the first Axis that came out. And yeah, I can't wait to watch it, Hef. And ultimately, they ended up on the Music Man Axis, which is what Eddie's guitar was, and then it was turned into the signature guitar, and then whatever. And the back of the neck, we know, was basically a computerized profile of the 5150. But right around that time, that's when Eddie pretty much put this guitar to bed. And the last known recording of this on this guitar was Judgment Day from the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album. All right. So that's the last time we know that this guitar was used live. Excuse me, well, live was the Cabo Wabo show, the opening, which is a really cool show. And last known recorded song that we know of was Judgment Day. So that's pretty much most of this guitar in its heyday, all right? So some years go by, Eddie's doing the Music Man thing, and we really don't know what's going on with the 5150, and as far as we know, it was still one of Ed's main guitars. It was still one that he picked up in the studio. There's interviews from Ed in like 92, 91, 92, 93. He's like, yeah, I still play the 5150. I still pick it up. So that is still was, at an arm's length in the studio, because Eddie had said that. So 5150 was still around. Now, just looking at my notes here, because I took a couple of notes on some things that I wanted to touch on. So now he's into mid-90s, right? And the 5150, as we know it, stayed in that configuration with the original pickup in it, with the let's see, the had a Music Man logo on the headstock for a period of time, covering most of the Kramer logo. And one other thing, the tuning peg. This is something I wanted to mention. When they added the 7th tuning peg, what's up, Tone Top? How you doing, buddy? The 6th tuning peg was removed from here and put. It's a shallower, all right. And you'll notice there's only one screw in one of the tabs. This is a real shaft. Moved down here, and this was just placed here, so there was no tension on it. So that way it wasn't going to put pressure on pulling on this wing, all right? So it was put down here, and it just drilled right to the Kramer logo. This is one of those vintage, real deal string trees that I got from Chris. I've had this for a while because this is one of the prototypes that we did, and so this is the real deal stuff. And this is not a real split; it's a fake crack that he did when he made this to make it look real. But that's the deal on the tuners. So that's kind of the configuration that 5150 was in through the 90s, through the Music Man years. Now here's some interesting stuff. Let me just check what we got here going on. What's up, Mark? How you doing, buddy? Neck not clean and no Music Man logo at Cabo Wabo. Good point, Chris. So they hadn't cleaned the neck during the Cabo Wabo. I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot to say that. They hadn't cleaned the neck yet. The neck was still dirty, but it had been broken and repaired and had the 7th tuning peg put on there. But it did not have the Music Man logo on it yet. They just repaired it. So basically, let's see what we got here. Was Vinyl Hunting. What's up, Music Therapy? How you doing? So after the Cabo Wabo opening, the 5150 gets put away, and the last picture we saw of it had the Music Man logo on it because Music Man put one of their logos on it. So Ed's playing the Music Mans from 91 to 95, and then he starts looking into Peavies, okay? The 5150 was still around. And the reason we know that, and it was still being used as far as at arm's reach, was because Eddie starts working with Peavy, right? The Music Man thing goes away. We've talked about that before. All of a sudden, we see, one other thing I forgot to mention, Music Man did clean the neck. They did clean the neck at some point. They scoured it down and sanded it and took all the crap off. And apparently Ed's original quote, which what I have in one of my magazines, is, "I wanted to wring their necks when they cleaned my neck." That's what he said. I got a magazine that says that. He hated that they cleaned it, but they cleaned it. Now, all of a sudden, in 96, okay, we see a couple changes on this guitar, okay? The Music Man logo is gone. He ripped it off because he wasn't with Music Man anymore, he was with Peavy. But, all of a sudden, it's got a Peavy Wolfgang pickup in it. Now we're talking 96 era, guys. 1996 era. Peavy Wolfgang pickups in it. Most of the saddles had been replaced with regular updated Floyd saddles. Still the whale tail, but they replaced some of the saddles probably because some of them wore out or whatever. And the barrel jack was replaced with one of these plates, a plated type jack, all right? The tape was removed from here. As you guys can see, that's where the residue came from, all right? And the guitar had a ton more scratches on it, okay? This was worn down really good like that. And this guitar is about as exact as you can get. I know Adam Reaver looked at this when we were at the EVH Con. He was like, wow, that thing is just sick. It's really close. And I was honored to have him say that. And it had a whole bunch of chops and cuts in here because you'll notice that they also cleaned, Music Man probably, cleaned the body, and they took all that dark kind of graphite-y, kind of charcoal-y stuff out, and they cleaned the body. When they did that, they took all these big chunks out of it and actually made them bigger. They were there, but they made them bigger. And they cleaned the body and basically ended up relicking it a lot more, okay? Now, they also, we didn't touch on this, but these holes on the back are from the tray tables that he had back in 1984, all right? That's where they come from. So the guitar changed a little bit. So why would Eddie have, my question is, why would Eddie have put a PB Wolfgang pickup in that guitar if he wasn't using it? Why would he do that? Because he's still using it. My opinion only. He didn't do it to any other guitars. He didn't do it to Frankie. He didn't do it to, he still had the B at the time. He didn't do it to the 1984 Kramer. He didn't do it to really any other guitars. Why did he do it to the 5150? I believe because he was still using the guitar. And it was still right there at arm's length. Just like his original Music Man is, his Amber Baby is still at arm's reach today, as we've seen by pictures. It's still right there. And he still loves that Music Man, the original Amber. Even after the PV stuff, even after the EVH stuff, he still has that Music Man right there. But this 5150, he updated it. Hey Amanda, how are you doing? You guys that are just jumping in now, you have to go back and watch the beginning. We got a lot of information out of the way earlier, but yeah, go back and watch the beginning when we're done. Let's see, Hubbard. All the rumors of Ed bringing the Frankie out during early balance. I believe it was really a 5150. Dipped eye bolts, zebra pups, Music Man logo. Yeah, very, 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 very possible. There was rumors of Ed bringing the Frankie out in balance tour. Probably was the 5150, I would think. I mean, you never know. Thank you, Music Therapy. Appreciate it. Well, you know what I say. I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong. I'm kidding. I'm joking. So anyways, that's what we think. All right. So this guitar was still pretty prevalent. All right. So now we're in the PV years. All right. And let's see, 95, 96, or end of 95, because Eddie started playing the PVs towards the end of the Balance Tour. The last leg of the Balance Tour, he was playing the PVs exclusively. He was, beginning of the Balance Tour, he was starting to tweak them a little bit. He'd play them during Can't Stop Loving You and Not Enough. But then towards the end, he switched out completely, and he was playing PV Wolfgangs the whole time. So 95, 96, 1996, he's at NAMM, and he's doing the Humans Being guitar, which was the one that he demonstrated at NAMM, the black one, which is the first PV Wolfgang that I ever owned. I bought my first one in 97. I was so pumped. Been playing guitar for a year, and I'm like, oh, I want to get one of these Van Halen guitars, and I'm getting a black PV Wolfgang, just like Eddie's Humans Being guitar. Just got married, and 24 years old, and I was just like, whoa, I got to get one of these. And took out a loan, a personal loan, to get the guitar because I had no money. I think I had a couple Kramers at the time. But anyways, it was a patent pending, guitar and everything, just like Eddie's was. So 95, 96, 97, now we're into the Gary Cherone era, 98. And Eddie's still cruising through with PV. Sammy's out, Gary's in, we got VH3. And we really go through a long stint of not seeing anything really with the 5150. It's not around, okay, other than old pics. 99, Gary's out. 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. Eddie's in that real rough time now, he's still playing his main, I'm not going to pull it down because I'm switching pickups out, but he's playing his main Tobacco PV guitar, Wolfgang standard with a 5150 on it. Hang on one sec, Blackie. We'll answer that in a second. Well, actually, real quick, we'll just answer it now. Blackie says, "Hey Rob, what size frets were on the 5150?" I've heard they were 6150s, nickel plated, non-jumbos. I believe the jumbos were on the Frankie. I don't know that for sure. I don't know. That guitar has been refretted probably so many times, we'll never know. I would imagine he's probably got stainless frets on it now, just because that's what he still loves that guitar. It's probably one of, piece of art, but I've heard they're 6150 non-jumbo nickel-plated frets originally, and what he switched them to in the 80s we'll never really know. Probably the same thing, but like I said, that guitar's been refretted so many times. I'm sure he's got stainless ones on there now. I mean, because he loves stainless frets. So we don't see anything with a 5150, but I still believe it's still right there. It's still one of his main guitars. because all of a sudden, and Ken, my buddy Ken Kukowski, if you're still here, feel free to chime in. It makes a reappearance in 2004. All right. So I was lucky enough, and I can't take credit for taking this picture, but I can take credit for having him be one of my best friends. Okay, you're here. And we were right next to each other. And Ken and I, I'll just say Ken and I took both of these pictures. He was the camera guy. But Ken took these pictures. And now these pictures, I'm only going to show you one of them. Some other pornographic pictures that Ken took. No, I'm joking. But yes, buddy. And he'll be the only one that'll get that joke. 2003 Worcester Centrum Sunday night. That was 2004, Mike. Not 2003. It's 2004 because I was at both shows, the 19th and the 20th. Michael Collins, 2004, June 19th and June 20th. Okay, so Eddie has the 5150, makes a reappearance. Now it's got a Charvel neck on it. Okay, ugh, hated that thing. It looked like crap. Just didn't like it. It wasn't the 5150. But what it was the 5150. So I go to the show, and I go to the sound check on the 19th of June by myself at the Worcester Centrum, and got to see him right up front. It was amazing. And I had won tickets for the second night for two people, a friend of mine and myself, to go inside the Golden Ring on Ed's side. So I brought my buddy Ken, who's right here, Ken Kukowski. And we were in the Golden Ring, and we were right up front. Before I show you this picture, I'll never forget this. I've never really met Eddie, per se. One of these days, I really hope to meet him, you know. But I got to shake his hand because in 2004, June 20th, Ed comes out, and they're playing Jump. And he's playing his Cherry Burst special. And he hits that opening chord, and he's using his bar, and he's killing the freaking sustainer back in those days. He comes over, and he gets down on one knee, and he grabs my hand, because I had my hands up. He grabs my hand, he holds onto it for like, it must have been at least 5-6 seconds. And he's just hanging onto my hand, because he's just letting the sustainer go. And I'm like, you're freaking awesome, dude, you're amazing. And he yells down, he goes, I think he said, thank you, brother, or something like that. But so I actually got to shake his hand and, you know, whatever. And the whole night, Sandy was coming over signing stuff for us. I got pictures of that and all that. And at the end of the show, Ken got Ed to sign his 5150 hat. It was probably the only time Ed ever signed anything, but he signed the hat for him because Ken was keep throwing it up there, and he was like, oh, okay, signed it. And then I was like, Ed, would you sign this? Would sign it? He goes, no, man, because I got to sign everything for anybody else or whatever. It was so funny, but he got Ed to sign that. That was pretty cool. But one of the pictures that he took, and this picture has made it into numerous guitar magazines and Japanese magazines. So I don't know why Ken never got any royalties on it. But this picture here we took, and that's how close we were. And I hated that neck, but that was the 5150, man. My favorite guitar, and I finally got to see it up close. I could have reached out and touched the thing. I could have reached out and touched it. But Ken took all these pictures, and actually it's funny. I might even have, hold on. This is a Young Guitar Mag. This picture might even be in this book. Hold on. That's in one of them I have. It's so funny. I was like, whoa, man, they actually using our pictures because we put them out on the internet. Let me just see. I thought it was in one of these. Maybe it's definitely in one of them, but maybe it's not this one. No, it's not. Oh, here's one for you, Chris. Here's a really cool pic. Here's your little Les Paul. But anyways, so we took those pictures that night, and that was a magical night, and we got to, you know, shake Ed's hand, got an autograph. It was really, really cool. But back to the 5150. That was, yeah, I got all the photos too on CD, but I'm just reading one thing here. Awesome story. Thanks, 802. Yeah, Blackie, Ken took some magical pictures that night. I have a ton of amazing up close pictures. It's just insane pictures, but I only took this one out because it's the 5150. But we had a great time that night. It was awesome. So the 5150 comes out for the 04 tour, and it's basically from, you guys know I love that word basically. Ultimately, the 5150 was the Up for Breakfast guitar. Right up until about halfway through the tour to 3/4 of the tour, then he started playing Stripe Series. My guess is because he just didn't want the, yeah, he was, Ken. It was a bad time for Eddie Van Halen. I'm glad he pulled through that. I think the guitar was just getting beat, and Ed probably just kind of wanted to put it away, and it just, it's one of those classic ones, right? So the 5150 gets put away, and we don't really see anything. Now that's 2004. Now you guys can correct me because I'm not really great on my. I'm not really great on my date on this particular one. I'm trying to find some pictures. But then all of a sudden, out of the blue, we see these pictures surface, and I'm going to say there's a website called No Bozos. All right. And we see these pictures resurface. I'm going to say 2005, 2006-ish maybe. And we're like, whoa, look at that. It's the 5150, all right? The eye bolt's been dipped in like black plasti dip, which was done back in the Balance tour sometime, we think, because Eddie was doing it on his PVs. There's all these holes. There's that big hole for that big rod that he had sticking out. And all these different holes that he was sticking in there for, different stuff, trying different things. Pretty cool. That one came out, then this one came out. Oops, sorry. All right. Really, really cool pictures. Got the PV Wolfgang pickup in it. Here's one of my favorites, because you guys can see the grain. You can't really see it too good here, but you guys can see the grain, how it winds up to the 5150 kind of, and the way that, the way that it just does this direction that it goes, or what you want to call it. All right, you get a real good close-up. Now here is the back of the guitar. All right, just totally road worn. It's got 3 black springs, and those are black because I found that out for sure. And it's got, like I said, black dipped eye bolt. All right, and it's pretty cool pictures. There's one more. Yeah, and here's the headstock. All right. And I think there was a time when he had some kind of a striped neck on it for a period of time. I'm not sure. But, so we see the 5150 make a reappearance, all right? Just in some pictures. So again, obviously the guitar is kind of sitting around. And it's still right there at arm's length. So it's just one of those guitars that just never seems to leave Ed's side, along with his Music Man guitar. So then we go, let's see, what was the next tour? All the way from 2004, now we're into 2005, 2006. 2007 comes around, 2008, 2009, and now we're kind of in that stage now where we really haven't seen too much of the guitar, other than Wolfgang posted some pictures. Now the original neck is back on it, okay? And it's all strung up, and we're seeing all these close-up pictures, these cool string trees, and looks like this is a vintage nut, okay? And it's got the whale tail humpback saddles clamps on it. Ed's does not have these anymore. He's got regular Floyd ones on there, but I wanted to keep mine kind of like somewhat old school with the hardware. It's got a different string tree on it, but the guitar is still around, so we're seeing pictures of the 5150. And all of a sudden, EVH makes a 5150 copy. Okay, they make the Stripe Series 5150 because this is obviously one of Ed's main, guitars, and everybody loves it. And the EVH 5150 copy guitar, I'm going to tell you, is an awesome guitar. It really is. I've played it before. I've played one, and it just sounds great. It feels great. I mean, it's not totally accurate because everybody's like, well, it's not exactly like Ed's was. Well, it's not, because it's a tribute guitar. They pretty much nailed most of the body, but they didn't get the relicing. They didn't get the black stripe where it cuts off and angles down more onto the letters and all that. But they did nail the 5150 logos. They got that's the best space tape I've ever seen, as far as close to the real stuff. And they pretty much nailed everything. So the 5150 is still right around. We've seen pictures from 2007 of that in the studio, and even 2004 of that guitar right in there. So it's still right there as one of his go-to guitars. Does he play it? Well, maybe not. I don't know. Let's just see what we got here for a couple. We got some time left. We can keep rolling. We're tempted to break the window. Shredded cheese 5150, yeah. Oh man, music therapy. I'm sorry to hear that. Missed the show. We're hanging on my car. Oh man, that kind of blows, huh? It was around that time that the killer guitar in the 90s, for some reason, can't remember exactly when. I still get that special 5150 feeling every time I see When It's Love video. Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's a great video, and I loved. Yeah, I agree, Jeremy. The 5150 is just magical. So that's pretty much what's going on with the 5150 now. Now let's we can answer some questions. Yeah, right. All the Stripe series guitars are tribute. So a lot of people think, oh, they didn't nail this, they didn't do that, they didn't do that. It's because they're tribute guitars. They're not exact replicas. If you want to have an exact replica, you got to build one. Okay. The good news is you have your choice. If you want the tribute guitar, the EVH, they're there, and they're awesome guitars. I mean, like I said, my Star guitar is an EVH, my Bumblebee's an EVH, my Black and White is an EVH, and my Circles guitar are EVHs. Now, I've tweaked them a little bit. I mean, I just put a Mark Blankenship pickguard on my EVH, as you can tell, my EVH stripe series, okay? And I had to correct some stripes. I had to do some repainting down here. I've reliced it. It's got a Floyd on it because I hate non-Floyd Eddie Van Halen guitars. And I've sanded the headstock down. It's got a Gibson logo on it. It's got gold hardware to kind of look like the brass nut that Eddie had on it. But it's still an EVH guitar, but I've tweaked a few things. I took the Floyd bar, took my bench grinder, ground it down, put the little white tab on the end to make it kind of look more like the original Strat. So, you know, I slanted the humbucker, routed it out with my Dremel tool. So I always tweak my EVH guitars to look more like the originals. I used to have all the originals, but I do like the EVH guitars. By the way, I do have a, if any of you guys have that, I have an extra pickguard right here, if anybody's interested. I have two of these. This is a relic pickguard that will fit a Stripe Series EVH guitar. It's even got the little stuff right here. It's got the, looks like it's cut out the butter knife. So any of you guys out there that have an EVH VH1 guitar, there's a pickguard for it if you want one. It's up on eBay right now, actually. But anyways, so let's talk for a few minutes about building these guitars, all right? And let's see what we got here. I love my Stripe Series. I can't wait to get my real deal. Yeah, I know what you mean, James. Hef, what's the deal with the forearm wear? Well, the forearm wear on the 5150, we talked about this earlier, so if you go back, you'll see what we said, Jeremy, so we did spend a lot of time on this, but the 5150 was made, as I believe, of basswood, because basswood is it's lighter, and the 5150 was light. Northern ash is too heavy. And Northern ash is grainy all over the place. The 5150 was just grainy in this one area here. Now the reason the arm wear was here, and it stayed that way, and Hubbard did an awesome job on this, is because of the grain, all right? So that was pretty much the way that it just wore, you know, because I think the paint was put on kind of thin, but we talked about that a little bit earlier. So you guys that want to build your own custom relic 5150, all right. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to give you my opinion, and my opinion is nothing more than my opinion. Sorry for my hair. Usually I try to look good, but apparently not tonight. Nick, we talked about this. Thought it was made of poplar wood. There's a lot of speculation, but I used to think that too, poplar, but I'm really thinking basswood just due to the consistency of it. Oh no worries, Sandra. Glad you're here. You're gonna have to go back and watch the video. We did a lot of chatting and talking about the 5150 guitar, but so hope you guys can go back and check it out. No worries though. It's a nice thing about rewind on these videos. But again, Nick, we'll never really know, and I'm not, I'm only going off of 20-something years of studying this and talking to some people that actually have seen it, and I'm hearing it's basswood. I know that they Paul Unkert used poplar in most of the guitars, but they were doing a lot of experimenting back then. Even used mahogany on some of them. Yeah, I know what you mean. How it gradually wears off, Jeremy. It's the same thing. Sent me a show last night. Thanks, James. So, you want to build one of these guitars. If you want to build one of these guitars, all right. These are just. This is my favorite guitar. Just again, I'm not really playing much guitar tonight, but just because it's a 5150. Not tuned down. The song is actually tuned down, and the low E is in drop D. Now, when real quick, when Ed played 5150 in the on the album, it was tuned down a half step. When he played 5150 on live, the whole guitar was tuned down a whole step, which is weird. I could never figure that out until a few years ago. We were talking to Dave about that. We're like, how did that happen? How did he do that? But why would he do that? Moreover, but yeah, it was tuned out a whole step. And then an OU812, he tunes it standard, like now, and that's why it sounds a little happier, it just sounds a little bit cooler. And I really love 5150 in standard. I really do. It just sounds too like when it's tuned. I mean, it sounds good on the album, but in the 5150 tour, they tuned out a whole step. Just sounded too kind of when it's love main riff. Oh jeez, you put me on the spot here, dude. I wasn't gonna play guitar tonight, and I should be. But, oh man. I'm sorry, it's horrible because I haven't played the song forever. Then he comes in with a. Sorry, I'm not singing. Anyway, sorry guys, I haven't played. I actually was playing the solo to When It's Love a few. Awesome. Eric, shut up. That sucked. Come on, you can freaking blow me out of the water with guitar playing. No, thank you. But I'm joking. No, I'm joking. No problem. Yeah, you guys are too kind. That's what happens when you have a couple too many vodkas before you do a live show. No, I'm joking. It's not vodka. Yeah, right. The 5150 for the builds, what are you guys going to do if you want to do a custom relic? Okay. Now that I got off on a tangent, we'll get back to business here for a second. Thanks, Haf. Thanks, guys. Eric, you're still making me laugh. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I haven't played the song forever, so, you know, whatever. I couldn't even remember where anything was. So, Nick Amendolara, Craig Stofko, Chris Hubbard. Those are probably going to be your main exact replica builds. Craig has done work for me before. Craig's done one of my Music Mans. He does a phenomenal job, amazing. Me too, Half. I love that video. Nick did my Ibanez Shark Destroyer. It's just incredible, and I've seen the new ones, the new EDHs, and they, you know, and they went. Matt Brown said, you know, was telling me they went right off the original. Nick did an amazing job matching the color, you know, and everything else. The paint job is just sick. Those are going to be your guys for your builds if you really want those accurate builds. Excuse me, for those accurate paint jobs and stuff like that. Okay, if you want the heavily relict ones like this, you know, with the wood grain and all that stuff, you know, the Hubbards and the you know, the Nicks are probably going to be the best ones with the relics. Craig did an awesome, amazing version of this guitar last year, and I got to see it and play it. It's the 1983 version without the space tape, but just some minimal relic. Did a killer job on it, and I was actually honored enough to even give him some input on a couple of the stripes, but he just did an awesome job. But those are going to be your three guys, depending on what version you're looking for, okay? Parts. And here's where I'm going to tell you what this is, okay? I'm going to tell you what I've used. And you guys can, you know, you got Musicraft, okay? Scott Smith, very dear friend of mine, one of my best friends. You can't go wrong with his bodies, and you can't go wrong with his necks, okay? Chris Locke, he's just freaking killing it with bodies. This is a Locke body, okay, and it's pretty exact. Locke did my Kramer double neck, yellow double neck. The Musicraft necks are awesome. I've had them before. So that, like I said, you can't go wrong with Musicraft. You can't go wrong with Chris Locke. But I'm going to throw one other name out there for you guys that are doing these builds. Butala necks. This is a Butala neck. All right, and it is just insane. And Chris is the one that told me about this neck. It fits like a glove, and it's actually shaved down on the back because Eddie sanded these down, or had Paul do it, or whoever was doing the build. Took a little bit of the edge off, so it was a little thinner and a little smoother, which actually makes it less strong, believe it or not. But Eddie liked that. He did not want that there. So your Musicraft necks are not going to have that. Your Butalas will, okay? But again, you can't even see that. And maybe if you request it to Musicraft, they will do that. But like I said, most of my necks are all Musicraft. I went out on a limb and did the Butala one this time with this one because Chris told me to try it out, and I will love it. Dave Nesdahl played this guitar a few weeks ago, and he loved it. And everybody that's played this guitar just falls in love with it. So those are the parts. So you got Chris Locke, you got Musicraft, you got Butala, but any of them will do any of them for you, and they all do amazing jobs. They've got the headstock, you know, nailed down. We already talked about who you can have doing your paint jobs. Parts. Well, we talked about it. This is a Jim Francis whale tail reissue. Okay, and it's all hand tooled and everything. It's pretty exact. It's like the real deal. I think the only thing that's not exact is the wood screw post on the old whale tails were the hats were a little bit taller and they're a little bit thicker. But I mean, that's kind of nerdy. It's even got the right nut here. It's got the big steel block in the back. You know, you got the yellow ground wire, black springs in the claw. That's what Eddie has now, not what he had years ago. Okay, changed that out sometime in the mid-90s. The serial plate number should be B4129. That is the correct serial number. And you can have these made. There's another company on Frets on the Net. Okay, they do that. They do these. Gatto tuners, not shallers, except for this one double tab. If you're going to do this, the 7th tuning pick version, Eddie's were shallers. Were Gattos, not shallers. You guys know MXR knob. Um, you know, depending on what version. This is a PV Wolfgang pickup. Sean Christopher from Pariah Pickups, okay, does these too. He does exact reproductions. Sean's does amazing work and incredible, good guy. You can get them from him. But we believe the original one was probably a JB or a Duncan 59. Maybe it could have been a 78. We don't know, but it was a Seymour Duncan. You can't go wrong with a 59 or a custom or something like that. Okay. The eye bolts. Believe it or not, Eddie did have a set screw, and you can see the Swiss cheese. Mine's just like Ed's is. Has the set screw, washer, and the eye bolt was dipped in black plasti dip. You're right, James. If you want to pay like $1 million for it, he's a little expensive, but I'm just saying. Same thing up here. The washer and the eye bolt was dipped in plasti bolt. They do have some awesome stuff though. What's up, bro? How you doing, Dave? Let's see what else. Born low friction, you know, pot, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That is your 5150. And this is mine, and that's the history of the 5150, where it came from. If you guys are doing the stars, like I said, just a couple little things. Or excuse me, if you're doing the 5150 numbers, if you want to get it exactly right, remember the 0 has to be a little higher at an angle because Eddie didn't put them on right. And notice this black stripe goes down and then it stops here, some overspray, and it angles down. It was not done in one single swipe. All right, and we think that probably what they did is put some cardboard down, just went shh, shh, shh. And again, it's got a big overspray here, overspray on the back. And I mean, you can nail these things as you know, go as geeky as you want, you know. But pretty much that's it. That's it for the 5150. That's the life and history of most of the guitar. I think we've pretty much hit most of it. It's still a guitar that sits in Eddie's studio, and it's at arm's length away, just like his Music Man is. Does he still play it? Probably not. Maybe because it has, you know, maybe the neck pocket isn't right. Who knows? I'm not sure. But the guitar still is one of Eddie's classics for sure. I would love to see EVH Fender do a run on the 5150, the exact replicas like they did with the Frankie, like they did with the 78. I'd love to see that. Are we ever going to see it? I don't know. But I think it'd be pretty cool to see that. No problem, Eric. Thanks for watching. Absolutely. Those of you guys that came in a little bit late, like I said, the show was dedicated to the Kramer 5150, and we talked a little bit about how the original origins of the guitar and the Kramer ad guitars and all that, and the hockey stick headstocks. We kind of talked a lot about that. We talked about those of you guys that didn't see it. Oh my gosh, put your back on this thing. The original, double neck, Kramer double neck, guitar with an aluminum neck. This is one of the first ones Kramer did for Eddie. Paul Unkert painted it, built it. 12 string on the top and 6 string on the bottom. It was the Cathedral Secrets guitar in the 82 era, Diver Down era. Has always fascinated me about the 5150 is the pickup route. Yeah, it's definitely a different shape. It's an interesting shape. It's definitely a one-off. The last thing we'll say here too, or not the last thing, one of the other guitars that was so close to that was the 84, because these guitars were both painted at the same time, we believe, and they're very, very similar. Now this is my 1984 copy, and it's relic like what it would be today. Okay. 1984 Space Tape. It's got the black original Floyd Rose. Has a Steinberger knob on it now. It's a Steinberger Trans-Trem knob that Eddie probably put there. Hard to find. A lot of overspray on this guitar. It looks like they just whipped it out real quick. Overspray all over the place. I painted this one, just so you guys know. I did this one myself about a year and a half ago. And I've done a bunch of these. I actually wore the neck down. You can see I did the little trick we were talking about earlier. It's the 86 era. I have the black 86 era. Okay. Only thing it's not accurate, I got a big brass block on mine. I don't think Eddie does. It says Z 1984. I think that's for Z Clark. We're sure. We're probably pretty sure of. And this is my 84. Now we believe the 84 did have shallers on it. And again, you'll see here it's got like I got some up close pictures of the real one, and Eddie like jammed duct tape in there. There's like some duct tape in there for whatever reason. So again, trying to nail it. Again, this is Duplicolor Chevy Orange Red paint, and it does, you know, like I said, these two guitars were pretty much done at about the same time, and they're basically like brother and sister. There's also some speculation out there that this was supposed to be Eddie's main guitar, and that maybe it was for a little bit, and then for whatever reason he just liked the 5150 a little better and turned that one into the main guitar. But those guitars were his main ones in the '84 tour. We'll do another video on just the 1984 guitar, and we'll talk about the neck swaps and the hardware swaps, because that's one of my favorites too. But let's just see what we got here. Yeah, that's right, Eric. EVH Gear and TV, they just won't be able to with a headstock because the copyright. That's why they couldn't. Now we were talking about those. A lot of the the EVH guitars are more of a tribute guitar. They're not exact replicas, and that's what a lot of people need to remember. You know, they try to nail them best they can, but there's certain things that they can't do. Thanks, James. Appreciate it, man. I really hope you guys liked it. 5150 is one of my favorite ones. 1984 was first seen in the Panama video. Yep. All right, so one other thing. For those of you guys that are looking to build one of these guitars or do a paint job, I'm going to throw a little plug at Jeff Hausman's way for EVH VH Store. If you guys are ever looking for something that is absolutely almost identical in size to the real one, now I have one of the real t-shirts. I normally wear a medium, so that's what my other one was, but the first one I got was a large, and it was a little bit too big for the way I liked it. And so I decided to do something with the t-shirt, so I framed it. This is in a frame, 5150, and I cut it. So this is one of my pictures I have out there, and I love it. It's awesome. I decided to do this. Now this is absolutely just about, and I've measured it, it's the same damn size as the real guitar. And it's so accurate. So those of you guys that are looking at building these guitars or painting them, get a damn t-shirt, because it's exactly the same. Now, yeah, it's a little grainy because it's fabric, but you can even see the saddles on the Floyd, which ones were replaced. It's so cool. This is an awesome template to use if you guys are building this guitar. Again, I'm giving away a whole bunch of my secrets tonight, so you guys better appreciate this shit. I'm joking. I'm joking. But, because I love sharing this knowledge, I really do. Okay, so EVH Gear TV, I keep hearing about this interview you did with Dennis, and I'm gonna watch it tonight. I can't wait. I'm so excited to see that. I've heard it's awesome. Trades Buick for an EVH. That's awesome. I can't wait to check it out. I'm really intrigued by that. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I can't wait. Let's see, what else do we have for the magazines here? So that's pretty much it, guys. That's the origins of the 5150 guitar. It's just an iconic guitar. It's the guitar that got me into playing guitar. It's the guitar that just, seeing Live Without a Net, I'm like, oh, there's that candy cane. I think of candy cane guitar, and it just had that mojo to it. It was just amazing. I love the Frankenstrat. But it was the 5150 guitar that just did it for me and still does to this day. And if I had to get rid of all my guitars and everything had to go, for whatever reason, the one that I would keep would be this one. And the ironic thing about it is, this is the best playing one too out of all. I'm not just saying that. It's just, I love it. It's an amazing guitar, and it's just, it was an honor to be able to show this to Adam Reaver at the EVH Con and have him just like go, wow, that's one of the best ones I've ever seen, replicas, because he has seen and played and held the real one. Yeah, So that's it. So what do you guys got for questions before we wrap it up? We're going to wrap this thing up, and I'm going to go take my dog for a walk and maybe get a little dinner. And while I'm waiting for any questions that we can answer, I have a new toy coming on Friday, unless it's delayed, and that will be my, hold on, here it is. We've talked about this guitar in the past too. Okay, Eddie builds a guitar, right, in 1982. He didn't build it and he didn't paint it. Well, he messed it up with black stripes, but yeah, I still got it, Ken. Watch my show I did last night, and I actually played it. We talked about it. I played a little bit of Summer Nights on it. Yeah, watch my live show I did last night. He just did a photo shoot for this. Shows him kind of routing some stuff out, doing a little bit of painting. I'm not gonna take the whole show away, but basically, that was the end product right there. So I got a new toy coming. Thank you so much, Hef. I just saw that. Thank you, brother. I've known you for a long time too, and I enjoy doing this with you guys. I enjoy just kind of being candid and just kind of having you guys. It's like it's just hanging out with you guys with a bunch of cool friends. Hubbard is redoing or redid my Neptune guitar. All right, and he's pretty much redid it to the degree that he did my 5150 in. So without giving away a bunch of secrets tonight on that guitar, because I want to do a separate show on that guitar, I would like to do a specific show on that, because that is one of my favorite Kramers, and I got a chance to see it again for the second time a couple months ago at the NAMM show. I went out to Hard Rock Cafe in Hollywood. I got to check that guitar out up close and get some amazing shots. And I was able to provide those shots to Chris right before he started painting it, because there's a bunch of things we didn't know, and he did some major tweaking to it. So we'll talk about that in a separate video. But that's a new toy that's coming. Again, I didn't buy a new guitar. I've had the guitar. Chris just gave it a total facelift. And got a whole bunch of parts right here that are waiting to go back into it on Friday. So stay tuned for the Neptune video. We may do another one prior to that too, but that's the 5150, guys. And just a little bit of some other cool information. But yeah, any last questions before we kill it? Well, I just want to say thank you very much, guys. You know, I've been doing these videos for a long time with Johnny and Dave, and I want to continue to do. Have a good night, Ken. Thanks, bud. We'll chat soon. I want to continue doing those with those guys and Jay and all those guys, because they're great friends, and I just, you know, a couple months ago, I'm like, hey, it'd be kind of fun to kind of do these on my own. Teaching is something that I've been doing for many years, and talking in front of people, and I love public speaking. I teach martial arts and I teach firearms. That's what my passion is and my expertise in law enforcement. And this stuff here is just a hobby for me. I'm a Van Halen hobbyist, and I have been for many years. So I enjoy doing all this stuff, and I love talking about it. And I'm just honored to have all you guys check it out. I'm going to do more of them. And if you guys have any special requests, get on my channel or send me a text or a message on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Just tell me what you like and what you want to see, and we'll do it. Because I got a lot of stuff to talk about and show you guys and answer questions on. I am by no means an expert on any of this. The information that I have is information that I've picked up over the years, mostly learning from people like you guys, and I still learn from you guys. Thanks, Ken. Nick says, Rob, if the 5150 didn't exist, what's your next favorite Kramer? The Neptune guitar. Hands down, that's my next favorite one. And that's the one I'm getting on Friday. Thank you, Blackie. Thank you, Hef. All right, guys, I guess we'll call it a night, call it an evening, and thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. If there's any types of tweaks that I could do to make the show better, I'm a very humble person, and I love hearing, hey, great job, you did awesome, you know, you're great looking and all that. I love hearing, you know, you guys love the show and all that, but if there's really anything that I could do to make it better, I'd like to know that too, because I want to enhance it and make it more enjoyable for everybody. Johnny would probably tell me get a damn microphone when I'm on his show, because nobody can ever hear me. But when I do my own videos, everybody can hear me fine. So if there's anything that I can do to make it better, please let me know, and I will tweak it and keep trying to provide you guys whatever you want to see. And if any of you guys want to do a specific show on martial arts or firearms or teaching or training or anything like that, it doesn't always have to just be about Van Halen guitars. It can be about other stuff, and it can be about different types of guitars. We can just do a show on a different type of a guitar and open it up to all you guys, and we can all talk about it, and I can learn something from you guys. Do a video on Van Halen poster collection, yeah. And also all my old player magazines and young guitar mags that I've been collecting for all these years. I got a stack of magazines, you know, back from, geez, like 20, 30, 40 years, literally. But yeah, posters and all that stuff. Yeah, well, Paul, if you get on my Facebook page, I am in the process right now. I'm in the middle of a career change. And I am opening up a martial arts and firearms safety and tactical training academy. And it's been a dream of mine for many years. So if you guys get on my Facebook page, you'll see that. Please like it. Please check into it. I know you guys aren't close by, but we can definitely do some chatting about it. And who knows, maybe we can work a thing out where we could do some training online, or I could come out your way. I'm more than happy to do that. I love teaching that stuff. But thank you, 802 Blues. We're going to be doing more of these on each guitar. So let's do this. I'd like to hear from you guys too. I'm going to do one on the Neptune, but the next guitar you guys want to do a video on, let me know, and we'll do a specific video on it, and we'll just put them in line and start going down the road. So. All right, guys, I really appreciate it. I want to say thank you to everybody for jumping in. I really, really appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. I'm cool with it. I don't care. You can give it a thumbs down if you didn't like it. But PV Combo, yeah, absolutely. I got a couple of them here. If you didn't like it, tell me what you think could improve it, and I'll do the best I can to accommodate. But thank you for all you guys. I want to say thank you to my good friends. That I know personally, all you guys. I appreciate all you guys being here. I appreciate everything you guys have done, all the friendships that I've been able to get and acquire, and can't wait to see what's next. So, amp video. All right, guys. Well, have a nice night, and I look forward to hearing some feedback from you guys.